something can go up is if everything is going down.
Does everything go down?
Yeah, if everything goes down.
No, not yeah, if everything goes down. Does everything go down? Question mark.
Well, yes.
Eleanor, how old are you?
6.
Does everything go down, Eleanor? No, not everything. My 6-year-old knows not everything goes down. She can see the clouds out the window.
Well, because things keep going toward the earth.
What, like clouds? Do you need to return to the mental asylum? Sorry, do clouds go towards the earth? Are you stuck in some cognitive loop? I'll tell you why you need to do this. Because you're in a paradigm where you're on a spinning ball in a vacuum and you need us to be pegged to the earth with some force called gravity. Of all things go down. There isn't such an effect in reality. Beyond your fundamentalist religious belief in gravity, I don't have any stake, claim, or requirement to describe it in any physical reality I have.
Can I ask something?
Yeah, feel free. Who is that?
Vico.
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm new here.
Go ahead.
Well, I can't explain why it's happening, but if I'm dropping someone, well, it's obviously attracted to the earth for whatever reason. Well, that's gravity. I can't explain why, but we can all agree to call that gravity, right?
Sorry, I missed that. Call what gravity?
Affirming the
fact that everything is attracted to the earth. When I drop a bottle, it's gonna fall to the floor.
Helium balloons?
What about if you drop a helium balloon?
Well, it's less dense than hair, so it's floating up.
Right, so it's not going down then.
Right.
That's the end of that argument.
So I can't explain why it's happening.
Why? What's
fine?
happening?
It's denser than hair. I can get it, but we can all agree to call that gravity, right?
No. Not always happening. You're explaining a downward bias in the medium of air. But that downward bias doesn't exist if things go up also. There's nothing to explain. Because you're trying to explain something that always occurs? Well, does everything always go down?
That's a question for you.
Oh, okay. Well, the helium balloon, as you said, it's gonna reach a point where it's gonna stop going up.
That's not my question.
It's gonna come down on the layer of hair.
That's not my question. That's not my question. Do you want it again? Did you hear my question?
Yes, you asked why something can go up if everything is going down.
That's not what I asked. That's how you paraphrased it, because that's how you've heard it.
Yeah? Okay, sorry.
Does everything go down?
Yeah, if everything goes down.
No, not yeah, if everything goes down. Third time's the charm. Listen carefully. Does everything go down? Question mark.
Well, yes.
Eleanor, how old are you? Say nice and loud.
6.
Does everything go down, Eleanor? No, not everything. My 6-year-old knows not everything goes down. She can see the clouds out the window.
Yeah, sure, there is cloud.
So the answer is sorry. You've just answered. Shut up. You've just answered yes. Did you not?
Hey, wait. I'm respectful. Please be respectful to me.
You said yes, didn't you?
Yes. Well,
that was wrong. Now you can stop talking again. Nothing to do with respect. You're wrong. Now you just need to concede how wrong you were. And when you say no, that's wrong, I'll say so we won't be calling it anything then, because it doesn't happen. You want to call this gravity? I'm not being disrespectful. I'm pointing out it doesn't happen to give it a name.
This man answered his own question a few minutes ago. When he was asked,
Okay.
why did the helium balloon go up? He said density.
Because it's less
and that's
dense.
why things, and why the things go down, because they're more dense than the medium. Helium balloons are less dense than the air. So a piece of wood is more dense than the air. So if wood goes down, helium balloon goes up in air.
Yes, in here.
But in water, the wood won't go down.
The thing is,
in water, the wood will float until the water expels all the air from within the wood. Then the wood will go down. But other than that, the wood will float. So it's a density. It's not gravity.
Sorry to interrupt, Brian. Yeah, the question the guy's asking though is it reasonable to give this thing that doesn't happen a name? And he hasn't given me an answer. He was asking for somebody to affirm that with him. But now I've gone through the process of saying, why would I affirm it? It doesn't happen. He's just not gone, oh, right, yeah, I see how it would be foolish to call the effect of everything going down gravity when not everything goes down. But based on his cognitive dissonance, he couldn't answer a question a 6-year-old managed.
Okay, well, there is an observation I can do. Is putting
sorry, my
oil
friend,
on water.
stop. I'll try slower. You asked if it's reasonable to give something that does not happen a name. Now, would you concede, based on the time and effort I've just taken with you, that no, it is not reasonable to give names to things that don't happen, i.e. things always going down? That's what you asked. You've got your answer.
Yes.
I just need a response to that specifically without you waffling off in La La Land without acknowledging it in any way.
Okay, but the thing is, with density...
Stop.
Things are still going down.
Stop. Why is it so difficult for you to say it is unreasonable, as I have postulated, to give a name to something that doesn't happen? Why is it so difficult for you to say that, yeah, but is not a reasonable... I've just taken 5 minutes out of my life to explain this to you.
Because you're not letting me
Stop
finish.
talking. Oh, is it disrespectful now? Waffling through me. I've taken a portion of my life to explain an answer to a question that you've asked. You said you're new here. Yeah? I've taken time to explain it and answer a question you posed. Is it reasonable to give a name to something that doesn't happen? Yeah, but... No, the 5 or 6 minutes of several people's lives that we've taken to explain this to you isn't going to be met with yeah, but. It's going to be, yes, I understand it's unreasonable to call that gravity. It doesn't happen. Why can't you say that?
Okay, but I want to ask about an observation that...
Why? We've already answered your question about whether or not it's not reasonable to give a name to something that doesn't happen, but you're just not willing to concede that it's not reasonable to name something when it doesn't happen. Why would I name it? It doesn't happen. There's the long, protracted silence again. Is it something to do with your fundamental religious belief in a globe Earth?
Yeah, sorry, English is...
My bad, it was just me talking. Just you being rude. How dare you call me rude? You've just talked through me. Is it something to do with your fundamentalist religious globe belief that requires gravity, have everything be held to the...
I'm not a globe.
There's you talking through me again after calling me rude. I'll try a third time without you interrupting because this triggered Fundy, needs to mute me. Needs to mute me telling him that he's got a fundamentalist religious belief that requires things being held to a sphere, Earth, in a vacuum.
I never talk about globe Earth. I never talk about...
Gravity's directly connected to globe Earth. Are you a muppet? Don't need to talk about it. It's directly connected.
So you're saying gravity...
I'm saying you're not conceding. I'm saying you've asked me about whether or not it's reasonable to give something a name when it doesn't happen. You haven't conceded that yet. Now you're asking me questions. Typical baller behaviour. Can't concede. Too proud. Unreasonable, perhaps. Just rude. Just impolite. Needs to talk through me. Needs to give me a yeah, but like some common wanker. It's just unreasonable behaviour, mate. I've taken a significant time to answer your question. Now I just want you, the fundamentalist religious zealot with a bald belief that requires gravity, therefore you don't have to talk about a globe when you're asking about gravity. It doesn't happen. I just need you to concede that. That's all I want. Not unreasonable when I've taken time to explain something you've asked.
Okay, but my answer was that, yes, despite density, everything is going down, and you're telling me I'm wrong, and I'm trying to explain why I said that, and you're and you're not letting me explain why I said that.
You asked if it was reasonable to call the effect of things going down. You even dropped a bottle, did you not, sir?
Yes, I did.
Right, so you made a example of the thing you were clarifying the question about. All things going down, your example, but a bottle dropping that I heard. Right. Yeah. Do you understand now, like my 6-year-old does? Not all things go down. Therefore, it's not reasonable to give it a... There's you interrupting me again. Are you going to call me rude? It's not reasonable to give that a name. It doesn't happen. Not all things do what your bottle did, sir. Therefore, I'd like you to concede now that no, it is unreasonable to name it. It doesn't happen. Total silence.
Yeah, sorry. As I said earlier, English isn't my first language, and I'm trying to think about how to say what I'm trying to say.
You say, yes, it's unreasonable to name something if it doesn't happen. Why is it a sigh rather than a concession? Have I not explained clearly enough that not all things do as your bottle did? Was that unclear?
Okay.
So it's unreasonable. You asked us this. You asked us this question.
Yeah.
You got your answer. But all I've got in return for the answer, and I've taken the time and trouble to give it you, is sighs and yeah buts and more questions. It's totally unreasonable, my friend.
No,
You're an unreasonable man who is now interrupting me for the 5th time. He also called me rude for interrupting him, even though that is now the 5th time you've done that. Yeah, unreasonable, given it's your question that we have answered for you. You don't like the answer, so therefore you're just going to sigh at me and say, yeah, but and ask other questions. That's very unreasonable.
All right. I'm sorry for interrupting you, but the thing is, you're aggressive toward me. I'm trying to say something, and you're still not letting me.
That's correct. I'm not going to allow you to until you concede it's unreasonable to give something that doesn't happen a name, the name being gravity, because it doesn't happen. You dropped a bottle to example how it always happens to give it a name, gravity. I example things that don't do that.
Happen.
And for the 7th time, you interrupted because you, sir, are getting aggressive with me, talking through me, belligerence. That's what that is.
I'm
so
sorry,
now you're doing it again. What are you going to do after you've interrupted me for the 8th time? Tell me that I'm getting aggressive with you when you're continually interrupting me. I'm pointing out how unreasonable it is to ask somebody something and then not acknowledge it in any way. And yeah, but you way past it and tell me I'm being aggressive by not letting you ask a follow-up question? No. I'm being unreasonable. No, I'm not. I'm being reasonable. A reasonable man, after explaining an answer to a question he's asked, expects an acknowledgement of it. If you don't like the answer, that's tough. If you're just going to express your disapproval of the answer you received, eventually I'll get tired of you and just get rid of you, because you're an unreasonable man. Now, as a reasonable man explaining the answer to your question about whether or not it's reasonable to name all things going down as gravity when not all things go down, I'd like you to acknowledge that before we move on. I'm not going to be called aggressive for not allowing you to do that. You can call me assertive, not aggressive. I'm asserting the fact that I want an acknowledgement of that question you asked me, and we took the time to answer. And I'm not going to move on until I get it. That's how it is here.
Okay. And again, I'm sorry for having interrupted you. I didn't want to be rude. It's just I'm feeling like I was being attacked, and that I couldn't say what I was trying to say.
Feelings. The subject matter is gravity and whether or not it needs a name, not your feelings.
Just concede, man.
Fair enough.
Just concede.
So,
but right now I'm apologizing.
You're going to stutter your way past it and apologise again for me being aggressive to you? No. You just need to say it's unreasonable to give something a name when it doesn't happen.
He may not understand if...
I've explained it to him.
Okay, but the thing is, I can't say it doesn't happen when it does happen.
Okay.
Excuse...
Sorry, so you want to circle jerk around the discussion that you haven't acknowledged? So you think it's reasonable to move on and then what, circle jerk back to this lack of affirmation of what I've already explained to you and assert that all things do as your bottle do and go down when balloons and clouds don't do that, and even a 6-year-old recognises it? It's the lack of acknowledgement that will lead us back to this position again in 10 minutes that's not allowing me to let you move on.
But
And there's
but
the interruption again.
Still...
Yeah, that's the ninth
Sorry.
interruption, my friend. Maybe you're being a bit too aggressive with me.
No, sorry.
You don't need to apologise. You just need to acknowledge while I continue to get interrupted from G+, who feel that they need to take over charge of this situation. You don't. We're not going anywhere until he acknowledges the question he asked and the answer he got. He doesn't want to, because he's already affirmed, and now he's interrupting for the 10th time when I affirm that he's just told me it does happen like he dropped his bottle. That's what he's just told me.
Okay. Can I talk now? Because you're talking so much, I can't say anything without interrupting. And
Sorry, I'm talking so much that you can't say anything without interrupting when there's a long pause and you want to tell me how sorry you are for being aggressive towards me with constant interruptions and projecting that aggression onto me by calling me aggressive, when all I'm simply seeking is an affirmation of what I answered when you asked. You still haven't done it. It's been about 15 minutes. Once we don't get to it, which we probably inevitably won't ever get to, I'll start asking the audience why. When you've had an explanation, you've dropped a bottle and it's been shown to be incorrect, you've even offered your own answer as to why you're incorrect with density, the relative density to the medium you dropped the bottle in, because that same bottle would have floated up through water if it's empty. Sounded empty, got pretty good hearing. Meanwhile, you haven't acknowledged a single word of that and told me that it does happen that way after I've taken a considerable period of time with you saying, yeah, but... So you weren't acknowledging your question that was answered when you said, yeah, but, because you didn't agree. So you were lying when you went, yeah, but, and tried to answer a new question. The yeah, but was actually no. Correct? You're a liar. You may speak.
What about oil on water?
So you need to move on to a different subject rather than affirming that it's not reasonable to name something gravity when it simply doesn't happen. You'd rather continually interrupt it. You'd rather continually interrupt this devastating point that there's no point naming it if it doesn't happen. Therefore, gravity. No naming it, it doesn't happen, my friend. No matter how many times you drop a bottle, I'll just point at the clouds. Still waiting for you to affirm that it's not reasonable.
He's probably waiting till he feels it's safe enough.
I agree that I agree with the fact that if something doesn't happen, it doesn't have to be named. But the thing is, it does happen that thing goes toward the earth.
Sorry, there's a cloud outside my window and we exampled a helium balloon. Are you retarded? Do you need to return to some mental institution somewhere where clouds and balloons don't exist?
Yes,
Then sod off to the mental institute. You're not welcome here. If you can't recognise that not all things go down because you've got a fundamentalist religious zealot belief in a globe, then you're a moron and you don't deserve our time.
Sorry, I thought it was a debate that if I was respectful, I could...
Yeah, a debate would involve you conceding when you're wrong. So when you ask us, is it reasonable to name something gravity because all things go down like my bottle example, and we example a contrapositive example that doesn't do that, we'd expect you to acknowledge it. Not tell us how it's an unreasonable debate because you're unreasonable and can't concede. That's you projecting your unreasonable nature onto me. Fairly typical baller behaviour when it comes to a fundamentalist religious belief that you just blarted out like it was reasonable to name it gravity after dropping a bottle. You didn't expect a flat earther to point out how that's not true and are now unwilling to concede your incorrect notion that you need to name something that doesn't always happen. So no,
Fine,
I'm not unreasonable. This is a debate. I debated your question and proved it to be wrong. That's what happened. You just haven't conceded.
Fine, let's not name that gravity then. Let's name that
what?
Something else.
Name what? What specifically? Natural phenomena of what?
Of density. Then let's call that density then.
What density? Density is just a word. Do you want some qualifying words and descriptive words alongside that, perhaps?
The helium balloon is like...
Sorry, I already stopped you from making a new example. You said something's going to happen. We won't call it gravity, it's density. And I'm like, do you want some other words around that? Now moving on. What do you mean we'll just call it density? That means nothing. It's just one meaningless word with no context. So no, I'm not just going to call that. What is that we're going to be calling density? Specifically, what's that, according to you?
Density is the fact that some object goes higher than others and some goes lower than others when
No, it isn't.
you
That's wrong.
put them together.
No, it isn't. I've got two different densities of things in front of me, feathers and lead. Neither of them are doing anything.
Right.
Neither of them are doing anything. I'm proving you wrong. This is a debate. I am debating your last statement. No, you are wrong. I can vary densities of things and they don't do anything. What's your point?
I'm sorry about that. I'm going to mute my phone.
Okay. You're wrong. Your last statement was incorrect. The word density alone means nothing. I don't know why we're discussing this. It means nothing to my world. We're here to debate the nature of world, defining things with one word of density. What does this do for my world precisely? How is this affecting the nature of my existence? Does anybody want to debate about the nature of Earth? Because it seems you're asking about naming things that don't happen and then arbitrarily giving one word to what happens, and you haven't told us what's happening yet.
Well, because you didn't let me. Every time I've tried, you've interrupted me, and I didn't say a thing. Now, when I said, yes, everything goes toward the Earth, you talked to me about cloud and helium balloon. And you're right, clouds and helium balloon goes up because they are less dense than air. But again, oil is less dense than water. And if you try to push oil inside water, it's going to go up. But it's going to stop going up. It's same for the helium balloon.
Okay.
Same for the clouds.
That's fascinating.
There's a reason clouds are on higher than they are.
Who cares? Why are you telling us this? Who cares?
Well, because things keep going toward the Earth.
What, like clouds? Do you need to return to the mental asylum? Sorry, do clouds go towards the Earth? Are you stuck in some cognitive loop where you need to interrupt me pointing out your stupid insanity? It's nonsense, mate. You're saying all things go towards the Earth. I'll tell you why you need to do this. Because you're in a paradigm where you're a spinning ball in a vacuum and you need us to be pegged to the Earth with some force called gravity. Of all things go down. There isn't such an effect in reality. Beyond your fundamentalist religious belief in gravity, I don't have any stake, claim, or requirement to describe it in any physical reality I have. So when you get on to describing density, in quotes, what does it mean? Doesn't mean anything to me. What it does mean is you've had to relinquish your force of down that holds you to a spinning water ball. Beyond that fundamentalist religious belief, this is meaningless to us. Doesn't mean anything about our nature of reality. Just some invented word for a thing that doesn't happen.